that tree is hot. Let's go. All right, hey. Can we? We did it! All right, buzzer beater. Hey everyone, Digital David here. Today in this video, we're going to be checking out the BenQ stylish monitor with eye care technology, model number GL2480. This is a 24-inch computer monitor. I did receive this product to review, but any opinion expressed in this video is strictly my own. That being said, if you're interested in this product, you want to find out more about it, the link to it will be in the video description. You can see the retail box and packaging right here. If you want the quick tech specs for this monitor, it is as follows. 24 inches TN panel, 1 millisecond response time G to G. We also have 75 hertz for the refresh rate, 1920 by 1080p full HD. And we also have 250 nits for our brightness. Now let's go ahead, let's open it up and look at the contents. Here are all the contents. First up, you can see we have our product literature right here with our warranty and registration information, followed by our safety instructions. Then you can see we have our quick start guide for multiple versions of this monitor and everything that's included. And they walk you through step by step how to set everything up to get the stand connected and then to make all of your connections depending on the monitor you have with the cables that best work with your PC. And we have additional information on the backside too, again, depending on the monitor that you have, complete with the QR code too if you need any additional help. Next, you can see our included cables. We have our power cable and we have a VGA cable. And then you can see we have the two pieces for our stand right here. So check that out. They look great. I love the pattern and texture that we have on the base for our monitor. And last but not least, we have the panel itself. Let's go ahead. Let's look at that in more detail. Here's a look at the monitor up close from the back. You can see front and center, we got the BenQ logo and branding. Looks like we got a 100 by 100 millimeter VESA mount option. You can see our textured pattern all along the back panel as well. I really like how that looks, much better than just your boring black back panels. Then you can see down here we have where we're going to attach our included stand with the release button if we ever want to remove it. And then we have all of our I/O options here. So we got our power, HDMI, DVI-D, VGA, and we have a headphone jack. You can see from the bottom right here, check it out, we have all our different control buttons and our power button right there. We'll look at it from the side so you can get a feel for how thick or thin this monitor is. Same from the top. And then you can see the other side right there. And now we can look at it from the front. So check it out. Everything looks great. We got the BenQ logo and branding on our bezel that goes all the way around. We have our power button and all of our additional buttons right here. Again, you can see the little icons there. And then down here, looks like we got some sort of built-in sensor. I believe that's going to be for their eye care technology, which is really cool. Now let's go ahead, let's get the stand installed. So you can see that our stand comes in two pieces right here that we have to attach to each other. So go ahead, you can see how they're going to line up and just gently slide right in place. There we go. It's that simple. And then you're just going to go ahead, you're going to thread this bolt all the way down, nice and snug. And there we go. We just assembled the stand. Now let's go ahead. Let's get it installed on the monitor. So for this step, you can see where it's going to slide right in place. So go ahead, line everything up and just gently press it in place. There we go. I would love to have some sort of clicking noise to know that it's all set and ready to go, but you can see we're unable to pull it back out. We would have to press the release button with the small screwdriver, pen, something like that to release it. But there we go. We just got the stand fully assembled. Check that out. Everything looks great. So we do have tilt functionality here. You can see how far we can tilt everything back. So we can tilt it just a smidge forward right there, but you can definitely tilt it back. There's no rotation, swivel, or anything else. If you want those features, just be sure to use the VESA mount option on the back and bring your own stand. But it's got a nice base, really solid, gonna keep it in place. And I think it looks really cool too. Now let's go ahead, let's power it on and check out the monitor. So check it out, you can see we have our display plugged in and powered on. Everything looks great. We're getting 1920 by 1080p full HD, 75 hertz for our refresh rate. Now by default, when I plug this monitor into my computer, it was capping us at 60 hertz within these settings. So I did have to go to my NVIDIA control panel since we're using an RTX 3060 in this build, and we were able to adjust the refresh rate up from 60 to 75 Hertz, and you can see everything is working great. Now let's go over the menu settings. So to bring up the menu, you can see we have multiple buttons down below that we can press. Any one of them will take us to our nice quick menu where you can see some of our settings, or we can choose to access all of our settings right here. Then you just browse with the arrow directional keys. So first up, we have our eye care technology. You can see some of the options we have here with our brightness intelligence, which is cool. So it can auto acclimate the monitor to your room, helping your eyes and making sure that the image quality is where it needs to be. Next, we have our low blue light options as well. So depending on the image setting that you have, you can choose the setting that works best for you to help reduce eye fatigue. And we have color weakness profile. So basically, if it's absent of red or green, we can apply those filters to help improve the color accuracy as well as just how the picture quality looks overall. So that's really nice stuff. Let's go back into the menu now. Let's look at the next setting. So that was our eye care. Now we're going to look at display, and you can see we have some different options here to choose our input. And then we have some different items that are grayed out depending, I guess, on the setting that we're in or maybe the monitor that you have. But in this case, in the display settings right now, we can look at D sub, DVI, or HDMI depending on which input we want to be connected to. Let's bring it up again now. Let's look at the next item in the menu. So that's going to be our picture settings right here. So you can see we have different options depending on the picture setting that we have that we can adjust. So you can see some of those. And again, it just depends on what we have selected. So right now we can't adjust brightness or contrast, but that's okay. If we choose a different image setting, we will be able to do that. You can see next up, we have our picture advanced. So let's go ahead, let's look at those. So we have our picture mode, and then you can see we can browse through all the different options right here. That's going to really change the monitor and your viewing experience depending on what you desire. So pretty cool. You can see all those different modes. We'll look at those again with a video up on the screen so you can see how they're going to affect and change your image. Next up, you can see our display mode. And then we have an HDMI setting right here. Depending on if you want to tweak anything there, you can. Let's go back. Now you can see our next item is our audio. So we have our volume adjustment and our mute. So this does not have built-in speakers, but it does have a headphone jack. So you can control your audio right here with the monitor. And we'll go back, and then we can look at our last option in the menu. This is going to be all of our system settings right here, our OSD settings. You can see our custom key options. We have 3 of those. We can configure however we see fit. So you can choose which settings you want to access with those first 3 custom keys. Then you can see we have some of our input settings, power settings, and then we can go further down and you can see we have our device information, current resolution, again, 1920 1080p 75 Hertz. Optimum resolution for this monitor they're saying is 1920 1080p 60. And if for some reason we want to reset everything with this monitor, we can easily do that right here within the menu settings. Now let's go ahead, let's look at the picture quality. So we have this nice nature video playing on the monitor right now. Let's look at the image quality settings. So again, let's bring up the menu, let's bring up the full menu here, and let's look at some of the different options that we have. So first up, you can see we have our brightness intelligence, and we can choose to turn that on or off right here. So let's go ahead, let's turn that on. And now you can see we have some additional settings we can change within our brightness intelligence settings. So we have our light meter, and again, we can turn that on or off. So let's turn that on. And then we can adjust the sensitivity. We'll leave that at 50%. Now let's exit out. Let's come back here. One of our quick keys, you can see we're going to choose our brightness intelligence. Currently it's on, and that's what it's going to look like with this particular video. But now let's go ahead, let's turn it off. And I can tell, even just looking at it from an angle, there is a noticeable difference when you have that on or off. So keep that in mind, depending on the environment you're in. Maybe it's dimly lit, it's really dark, it's really bright, and you want the monitor to read the room, sense everything for you, and change the picture quality. It can do that right there for you. So that's pretty cool. So that's brightness intelligence. And again, you can enable or disable that. Next thing I want to look at is the blue light options that we have. That's also one of our quick keys right here. So first up, we have multimedia. Now you can see web surfing, how that changes how the video looks. Here's our office settings, reading settings, and then we're going to have our e-paper, our e-reader setting. That's going to be the most drastic, as you would expect. So you can see with blue light, it is going to change how the image looks a little bit. So keep that in mind, depending on maybe what's most comfortable for your eyes. Give it a couple minutes, 5 or 10 minutes, maybe even longer with each setting, and see which one works best for you. Now we're going to look at our picture mode settings. So you can see currently we're on standard mode. Now we've switched to blue light, which we looked at just a second ago. Here's our color weakness mode, so check that out. Pretty substantial change. Then we have our movie, our game, our photo, our sRGB, our eco, and then you can see we have our user settings right there, which we haven't tweaked, so that's just the default user profile. But we'll cycle through those one more time so you can really see the difference. Standard, low blue light, color weakness, again, that's going to change. Add the red and green filters for you. We have our movie mode, game mode, photo mode, sRGB, eco, and then we have our user mode. So again, depending on the task at hand, you can choose the correct one depending on what you're doing with the monitor. Really easy to, again, within the built-in menu, just to cycle between certain settings. So maybe you're doing some gaming, you want to have it in game mode. Maybe after you finish gaming, you want to quickly change it to, let's do movie mode instead. So you have those options. Or if you want to just leave it in standard or low blue light mode, you can do that too. Highly customizable, really easy to change. And if you're not happy with the presets, don't forget you can also change it yourself and access your user profile. While we have this video playing, I just want to talk about TN panels for a minute. So stereotypically, TN panels are known to be cost effective and really high performance. So they're great for gaming. A lot of times you'll see high-end gaming panels be TN. Now, with that being said, a lot has changed in the last decade or so with monitors. So all of those lines continue to get blurred between TN, VA, and IPS panels. But with that being said, typically when you're using a TN panel, they aren't known as much for their color accuracy or their viewing angles. So I'm not sure if the camera will be able to pick it up as we rotate the monitor. But really, you'll notice a color shift if you're looking at it in person, depending on where you're positioning yourself around the monitor. So just keep that in mind. Compared to your VA or your IPS panel especially, you won't have that color shift like you will with the TN panel. But if you're mostly spending your time looking, straight on with your monitor, it's not going to matter to you. But I did want to point that out. Typically with TN panels, regardless of the brand, because it's not really about the brand, it's about the panel type that's being used, you will encounter that with these monitors. So I'm shocked for a monitor at this price that we have adaptive brightness built in. Let me go ahead. I want to showcase that for you guys in real time so you can see how that technology works. And we'll do it by turning off all of our studio lights. So let's go ahead, let's do that right now. So you can see the lights just shut off. And now look, see this icon right here? It's adjusting the display for us, which is really cool. So you can see the results right there. Now we'll go ahead, we'll turn everything back on, and you'll see that that icon will initiate again as it's working on adjusting the display. And here we go, the lights came on and you can see it's already reading the room and adjusting the brightness for us. Before we dive into some of our technical tests, I just want to show you what it's like to browse the web using everyday websites, what you can expect when you're using this monitor. So first up, we got the YouTube trending page right here. So check it out. Everything looks really nice, clear, crisp, super responsive. Everything's loading as you would expect. Same can be said too if you want to use this monitor to browse maybe your favorite blogs, news site, that sort of thing. So we have The Verge pulled up here. Take a look, all the different images that are loading, titles, text, fonts, graphics. Definitely an enjoyable viewing experience. So let's go ahead, let's just click on an article here and you can see big image loading. Again, different fonts, headlines. So you can get a feel for how everything looks, but super clear and crisp is how I would describe the viewing experience, as you would expect. And then here's another common website if you want to shop online. Using this monitor, you can get a feel for how everything looks right here, loading a very popular e-commerce website. So overall, definitely enjoyable to use to browse the web. Now it's time for one of my favorite tests. You can see we have our UFO test up on the display right now, showing us different FPS values on our display. Again, we currently have it set to 75 Hertz. So keep in mind, if you see up the top, we have 60 FPS for a value. Since this is a 75 Hertz display, we could bump that up to 75 FPS depending on the game you're playing and obviously if your system can handle it. But it will be noticeable, as you can expect from our 15 to 30, having those extra FPS definitely makes a difference to make our footage smoother. So it would be noticeable a little bit if you went from 60 to 75, but not as noticeable if you jumped up from 60 to 120 or 144 or something along those lines. But you can get a feel right here for how everything's going to look on this display if you are going to do some gaming. At this price point, this is very typical what you can expect. A lot are still capped at 60, so it's nice that we have the extra 15 Hertz. If you are going to use this for gaming, you appreciate having that, assuming your system can handle the extra 15 FPS. Now let's talk about this monitor and color. So I went ahead, I conducted a DisplayCal test. You can see the results that we got right here for our gamut coverage. So 98% sRGB, 73% Adobe RGB, and 77.5% for our DCI P3. I would say that's what you would expect with the TN panel. Obviously, if colors is your top choice and what you're looking for the most, maybe you'll be using this monitor for color correcting, that sort of thing. You definitely want to choose an IPS panel that has the correct value and coverage for your needs. Now it's time to test out the input lag on this monitor. Now keep in mind, input lag is different from your response time. This has a 1 millisecond response time, but we don't know what the input lag is. And input lag is not the amount of time it takes from a pixel to change from black to white or gray to gray. It's the amount of time or delay between when something sends a signal and when it's displayed on the monitor. So think about maybe your keyboard and mouse, that sort of thing. So it's really an important test for gamers. So let's see, what are we going to get here value-wise? Holy smokes, 0.4, that's the lowest I've ever seen on a monitor. 0.5, that is very, very low. Typically, they hover around 1 millisecond for their input lag. This one actually got 0.4 to 0.5. That is very, very low, which is good. The lower, the better. That's the lowest I've seen in a monitor. Again, that goes back to this being a TN panel, and typically they're known more for their performance. So you can see how that definitely adds up for certain features like our response time, 1 millisecond, and you can see our input lag less than 0.5 milliseconds. Now, that being said, the highest value I've seen so far out of the dozen or so monitors that I've tested was 19 milliseconds. And honestly, for me, gaming between those two monitors, I couldn't tell a difference whether I was using this one or that one. But if you're a professional gamer where that could give you the slight advantage or edge, it's definitely something to consider. Now let's talk about ghosting. So you can see we have another UFO test up on the display right now, and there is ghosting present. You can see the results right here on the screen that we took. Now, we did use a handheld pursuit camera, so that's not going to be as accurate as if we had a slider and really went through the motions there. So, with that being said, ghosting is present, and you can get a feel for what you could expect with the samples that you see on screen right now that we captured. And honestly, even if you're looking at this, I feel like even to you just the regular eye, you can actually see some ghosting behind the UFO as he's moving across the display. But leave it to the pursuit camera test to get a feel for what you can actually expect. But is it noticeable when you're playing a game? Well, let's find out. Now you can see we got Fortnite pulled up right here. Everything looks great. I mean, check this out. We'll move around really quickly so you can get a feel for the quality of this monitor. Super responsive. Everything's really nice. You can see the color quality as well too, right? Get a feel for what it's going to look like playing your favorite games. A really fluid and smooth gameplay. You could use this with a console, anything with HDMI, right? Connect to an Xbox, a PlayStation, a PC, and enjoy some 1080p gaming. Sneak attack. Got him! Oh, man! you definitely get the idea here. Supposed to be a highlight reel for you guys, but clearly, whatever monitor you get, it's not going to make you good at the game. That's going to come down to your own skills. Oh, that tree is hot. Let's go. All right, hey. Can we? We did it! All right, buzzer beater. We'll take it. So now let me share with you my final thoughts in regards to this BenQ monitor. First, I want to say overall I've had a very enjoyable experience with this monitor. Everything's worked as advertised and as expected, which is always good. No dead pixels, nothing along those lines. So I'm really impressed with the quality overall, as I was expecting due to the name BenQ and the other great products like my BenQ Mobius monitor I've been using now for months without any hiccups. So why would you choose this monitor versus the other budget-friendly monitors on the market today? Here are some of the reasons why you would do that. First one is you are concerned about blue light in your eye health. This is going to be the monitor for you. Second, compared to some of the other monitors on the market today at this price point, you're not going to get the adaptive brightness either. If that's a feature that you want, then again, you're going to be choosing this monitor. The third reason is you want a TN panel. Maybe you're looking to do some budget gaming. You want to take advantage of that really low input lag and getting 75 Hertz for our refresh rate on a nice 24-inch display, then you're going to choose this monitor. Lastly, maybe you're looking for just some budget-friendly monitors to have at your desk at work, maybe a second display at home, something to take with you with your laptop. They really have this monitor designed for, I would say, offices, small businesses, things along those lines. We even have a cool channel on the back, if I can show you right here, for cable management. So this is really a nice feature. It unlocks and then you can see it comes off, so we can route our cable right through there. Obviously I didn't do it, but that's what you can do with this stand. So it's got a nice stand and they've really thought of a lot of features here. Now with that being said, why don't we share some reasons why you wouldn't buy this monitor? So you wouldn't buy this monitor for a couple of reasons that basically mirror what we just talked about. So the first reason is you found a cheaper monitor available. You only care about the amount of money, how much the monitor costs, and you choose to go a different route. Now with that being said, there really aren't many monitors, if at all, that are cheaper than this monitor. So keep that in mind. It's really gonna come down to a couple of features that you do or don't want, which leads us to our second point. That is gonna be that you don't care about the adaptive brightness or the blue light controls, and you would rather have maybe a feature like built-in speakers, a different configuration on the ports or I/O. Maybe you want 2 HDMI, that sort of thing. Well, then you're going to choose a different monitor. And lastly, it could come down to panel type for you. Maybe you prefer IPS or VA, so you choose a different monitor. Could still be within the BenQ brand, but that might be the reason why you wouldn't buy this particular BenQ monitor.